Kanu rejects trial resumption, insists on change of judge. The detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has opposed the request by the federal government for the resumption of his trial, insisting that the trial judge, Justice Binta Nyako, must recuse herself from the matter. Kanu's lead counsel, Aloy Ejimakor, revealed his client's position in a post on X on Tuesday, rejecting the federal government's bid to reopen the trial. Kanu, who is being prosecuted on 7 counts of alleged treasonable felony and terrorism, was rearrested in Kenya in 2021 and extraordinarily rendered to Nigeria. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges. At the last court session on September 24, 2024, Kanu requested that Justice Nyako recuse herself, citing a loss of confidence in her handling of the case. Justice Nyako agreed to recuse herself and forwarded the case file to the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court for reassignment. However, the Chief Judge returned the case to Justice Nyako, stating that 2 other judges had previously recused themselves, and Justice Nyako, having handled the matter since 2015, was best positioned to conclude it. The Chief Judge instructed that if Kanu still wanted Justice Nyako to step aside, he must file a formal motion with an affidavit detailing his reasons, serve it on the prosecution, and await Justice Nyako's determination. Despite this directive, the federal government's counsel, Adegboyega Awomolo-san, requested a new trial date in a December 5, 2024, letter addressed to the Deputy Chief Registrar of the Federal High Court. Awomolo argued that the Chief Judge's decision reinstated Justice Nyako as the trial judge. However, Kanu's lawyer, Ejimakor, in a counter letter rejecting the request, argued that Justice Nyako's decision to recuse herself was still valid and binding. Our position is based on the fact that Justice Nyako entered and enrolled an order recusing herself on September 24, 2024, and to date, that order remains extant and subsisting. It has not been set aside by any competent court, Ejimakor stated. He further accused the prosecution of attempting to mislead the court, insisting that Kanu no longer has a case before Justice Nyako. For the avoidance of doubt, as of September 24, 2024, the defendant no longer has any case to answer before Justice Binta Nyako, Ejimakor said. Demanding Justice Nyako's withdrawal from his case at the previous proceedings, Kanu, who shouted down his lawyer and spoke for himself, maintained that he did not trust the judge to be impartial. Addressing the judge directly, Kanu said, "My lord, I have no confidence in this court anymore, and I ask you to recuse yourself because you did not abide by the decision of the Supreme Court. I can understand it if the DSS refused to obey a court order, but for this court to refuse to obey an order of the Supreme Court is regrettable. I am asking you to recuse yourself from this case." However, the prosecution counsel, Awomolo, urged Justice Nyako to regard Kanu's claim of disobeying a Supreme Court order and proceed with the hearing. "My lord, you should not recuse yourself on the basis of this mere observation which does not have anything to do with the Supreme Court. It is an incompetent observation. We urge this court to proceed with the hearing," Awomolo said. But Kanu vehemently objected, waving a copy of a document in his hand which he said was a copy of the subsisting judgment of the Supreme Court. He proceeded to read a part that said the actions of the trial court rendered the impartiality of the judge suspect. He also tried to explain to the judge that his objection to her presiding over his matter was not personal, but that he was now fed up with the trial, which, according to him, was at variance with constitutional provisions. Declaring her stance on the matter, Justice Nyako declared, "I hereby recuse myself and remit the case file back to the Chief Judge." Kanu was first arrested on October 14, 2015, following his return to Nigeria from the UK, and was later granted bail in 2017 on health grounds after being detained at the Kuje Correctional Facility. Kanu later fled the country following a raid by the military on his home and moved back to the United Kingdom, but was later rearrested in Kenya in 2011 and brought back to Nigeria. His rearrested and repatriation to the country, he has been detained in the custody of the Department of State Services. His repeated applications for fresh bail have been turned down by Justice Nyako. Meanwhile, Senator Abaribe commends Governor Alex Otti's achievements, urges Tinubu to release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, saying that the Southeast will not benefit much from Tinubu's tax reforms without the release of Nnamdi Kanu, a former deputy governor of Abia State and the senator representing Abia South Senatorial District in the National Assembly. Chief Enyinnaya Abaribe has said that he sees no stumbling block to Governor Alex Otti's second term in office, considering the good works of the governor across the state. Senator Abaribe also expressed optimism that President Tinubu will release the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Abaribe said this during a Christmas and New Year visit to the governor of Abia State, Otti, accompanied by his wife. Speaking to journalists after the visit to the governor, Senator Abaribe said, "Even though my party is the All Progressives Grand Alliance and his party is the Labour Party, we feel that we have gone beyond party, and we are now at the point of governance. So, I came to encourage him. He's done so well, and we wanted to make sure that we continue to inspire him to do much more for the people of Abia." Speaking further on Governor Otti's performance, Abaribe said, "Let me say this. I come from ABA. He has done tremendously well in infrastructure, the whole infrastructure in ABA. I have driven around, I have seen everything. All I want to do is to continue to encourage him to continue on the path that he has chosen. We also agreed that we are going to come around to commission some of the projects that he has done in and around my senatorial zone. I think the second tenure is still very far away, but I do not see any stumbling block on the way if we go by what he has done at this point." Abaribe, who is also the chairman of the Southeast Senators Forum, said that they spent quite a lot of time discussing issues of governance in the state and what they at the National Assembly could do to help the governor achieve more for the state. He also said that they discussed matters concerning the Southeast, including President Tinubu's proposed tax reforms, which he said he would relate to his colleagues when he gets back to Abuja and see how it would help the Southeast. Senator Abaribe said that their concern is the development of the Southeast and ensuring that the Southeast is not left behind while the rest of Nigeria is moving on. He commended President Tinubu for promising to do the rail lines and other infrastructure within the Southeast during his visit to Enugu State over the weekend to commission projects. On the release of Nnamdi Kanu, Senator Abaribe described President Tinubu, GCFR, as a listening leader, expressing the hope that he will give heed to the advice of the Attorney General of the Federation and others advising and appealing for Mazi Kanu's release. He enthused, "I expect that the President will listen to both his Attorney General and every one of us who have been agitating the issues in the Southeast. First of all, the insurgency, the sit-at-home on Mondays, and every other thing we have noticed in the Southeast. What we now know in the Southeast is that criminals and all other people who advocate violence have taken over and using the name Nnamdi Kanu to perpetuate all these their despicable acts. We know that the President, being a listening President, will also look at all the issues involved, which we have presented to him from various media, that he will do the needful and release Kanu so that it will put a stop to all these things that are happening in the Southeast and bring back the Southeast as the hub of production in Nigeria. The President wants to pass a tax bill that has to do with production. You cannot tax people who don't produce. So he needs Kanu out so that all those things that are holding us down in the Southeast, that have made us not to produce as much as we ought to produce, will not be there. So, we continue to call on President Tinubu to release Kanu, and we are ready and willing to be guarantors for him to be released so that we can have life coming back into the Southeast and take it away from the criminals, kidnappers, the cultists and dangerous elements who are floating around us, who have made it a point that they would perpetrate violence, do criminal activities, and use Kanu's name as their reason. He questioned why people would be killing people they claim to be agitating on their behalf, stressing that it is not the proper way to agitate. On President Tinubu's tax reform bill before the National Assembly, Senator Abaribe said, "We have a position of the Southeast that we will have to continue to negotiate and debate, and that we do not want it to be passed in a hurry because it is something that will affect future generations." The Southeast Senators Forum took a position, just like the governors and other people, to do further negotiations, and so we believe that we are going to do this further negotiations. Governor Saludo has also reaffirmed his commitment to the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, saying he is not against Kanu's release. The Anambra State Commissioner for Information, Dr. Law Mefor, has clarified that Governor Chukwuma Saludo is not opposed to the release of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. In a statement issued on Tuesday, Mefor described the narrative that Saludo is against Kanu's release as misinformation, being propagated by opposition politicians who feel threatened by the governor's impressive achievements. IPOB had recently tackled Saludo over his assertion that the release of Kanu, who has been in detention since 2021, may not likely bring an end to the insecurity ravaging the southeast. Saludo argued that criminals had hijacked Kanu's Biafran agitation and were exploiting it to commit crimes for personal gains. Kanu and IPOB have repeatedly dissociated themselves from these criminals, Saludo explained. Even if Nnamdi Kanu is released today, I'm not sure they would listen to him because what they now pursue is wealth, not liberation. They have become enemies of the people they claim to protect. Who are they fighting for when they kidnap and kill their people? But IPOB took exception to Saludo's assertion, saying he appeared to have teamed up with politicians who want Kanu in perpetual detention. In a statement on Tuesday, however, the Anambra state government insisted that Saludo was not against Kanu's release. Mefor explained that Saludo had been actively advocating for Kanu's release, believing that it could help restore peace and stability in the southeast. According to Mefor, Saludo's commitment to Kanu's release is evident in his actions and public statements. He cited Saludo's visit to Kanu at the Department of State Services facility, offering to take him on administrative bail and pledging to ensure Kanu's availability whenever required. Mefor stated, "As we welcome the new year, it is imperative to address the misinformation circulating in the media regarding Governor Saludo's alleged reluctance to support Nnamdi Kanu's release. This misinformation has been peddled by desperate opposition politicians, intimidated by Saludo's remarkable achievements in office. In less than 3 years, he has surpassed his campaign promises, leaving critics scrambling to discredit him. Contrary to these false claims, Governor Saludo has been actively working towards Kanu's release, hoping it will restore peace and stability in the southeast. His commitment to this cause has been demonstrated through his actions and public pronouncements. Notably, Saludo visited Kanu at the DSS facility, where he offered to take him on administrative bail and assured authorities of his availability when needed. This gesture underscores the governor's willingness to facilitate Kanu's release and his dedication to finding a peaceful resolution to the issues surrounding Kanu's detention. However, Saludo is also deeply concerned about the hijacking of the Biafra agitation by criminals. These elements have turned the agitation into a lucrative enterprise, engaging in kidnapping, robbery, ritual killings, and other heinous crimes. The commissioner lamented that the criminalization of the Biafra agitation has not only undermined its legitimacy, but also posed significant threats to the security and stability of the southeast region. He noted that the hijacking of the Biafra agitation by criminals had led to a surge in violent crimes, including kidnapping, robbery, and ritual killings. These acts have claimed lives, instilled fear, and caused widespread insecurity. Additionally, this criminalization has hindered the region's economic development, as investors are hesitant to invest in an environment plagued by violence and insecurity, he said. To address these security challenges, the commissioner disclosed that the Saludo administration was set to launch Operation Udo Ga-Achi, Operation Peace Shall Reign, this January. The initiative will integrate advanced surveillance technology, branded vehicles for stop and search operations, and trained forest guards working alongside vigilantes and local authorities, Mefor said. Stay tuned, have a blessed day, and stay safe.